Hello. This is Why Life Sucks with Misadventure. Today we will be reading a story circa 2012 by Miss Katie Lammert. It is written backwards in a journal, and I have absolutely no idea how far along it is. I know the story turned out pretty well. Oh, the boring beginning. Blah, 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 blah. I'll read it. Do you guys remember Follow That Bird? The Sesame Street show with Big Bird, where he eventually ends up, back at Sesame Street after a series of beyond unfortunate events, which I'm sure left him scarred for the rest of his life. I wrote this about it a long time ago. Follow That Bird is a cautionary... Screw the big words. It's a story about the flaws in our sterile, bureaucratic system of social services, which presupposes crisis, inserting itself often to the detriment of those they purport to help. As you may recall, Big Bird is realized late in life to be an orphan by a nosy social worker who lives by the book. His lifelong home is unclassifiably determined to be unfit for birds. Birds must remain with birds. Birds must live with birds. A steadfast and Screw the big words. Okay. Perdurable, steadfast rule. I'm not proud of old writing particularly. That's why I have yet to write my memoirs. Big Bird is hustled away to a cramped and loveless foster home. He absconds, relegated to a tough life on the street, doing anything to make ends meet. What is this? Well, it appears the Grouch National Anthem is a rejection of the despotism and nepotism that defines us. Alright, doing anything to make ends meet. He eventually is kidnapped and forced into slavery. It's more common than you'd think. It is only through the intervention of those closest to him that he returns to Sesame Street, where he can begin to accept and cope with the trauma caused by a broken system which cost him his youthful naivete and his dignity. Now, of course, we turn the page to the right. A system he felt had cheated him out of any semblance of a normal life. Switching to first person if we have not already been in first person. The dog is about to vomit on me. Hole in one. He believed the system had cheated him out of any semblance of a normal life. He easily located the social services building. He stormed in and locked in a full... Okay, this is page 2. Yes. Locked in a full banana clip, theatrically and loudly, so that his intentions could not be misconstrued for a sinister effect. Mere moments after his arrival, he had taken aim at a woman who made a futile attempt to shield herself with a clipboard. He squeezed the trigger and watched in anticipation as the pathetic piece of pressboard splintered into a confetti of flesh-tattering shreds. Not that it mattered. She was dead before she could even ask why. The sight of the blood, the sight of the bureaucrat brains decorating every inch of the clinical white cinder block walls, well, they used to be. I wear glasses. I should actually have them on. Why am I doing this? I'm bored. Blah, 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 blood everywhere. Ignited an unquenchable flame, an indiscriminate and all-consuming bloodlust. He was John Rambo, a mentally unstable badass who wouldn't hesitate to kill every despot in the whole fucking institutional shithole of a place. It was magic. He hadn't believed in magic since Mrs. Finch had commandeered him away from Sesame Street. Until that moment, he had ceased to believe in anything but the corruption and failures of an overreaching government. At some point, he wondered how many shell casings now littered the floor. A testament to the utter carnage he was unleashing on one faceless government drone after another. He relished the haphazard way the corpses were beginning to pile across one another. All movement had ceased but his own deliberate pacing. Didn't want to miss anyone. He didn't want to leave even one of those disciples of hell alive. After putting a few more bullets in some of the less savaged, he turned toward the entrance, which now seemed an open invitation to freedom from the confines of his warped mind. He knew the door could only open to a world of endless wonder and possibility, a world he assumed he would never, ever inhabit again. With his hand on the handle, he turned once more to revel in the good deed he had done for the world. Perhaps he would be regaled as some sort of folk hero. They would sing his praises, scanning the veritable war zone. He noticed, turning to the right, 3, 4, clearly, some sort of card. You're always covered when you choose umbrella insurance. Blood. Excuse me. He picked up a stray business card that had fallen from an Indian guy's pocket while succumbing to a particularly energetic death rattle. Ankar Singh. Ankar Singh, adjuster. Having only lived on Sesame Street, and for a brief while, a militia compound, and also because birds just aren't the brightest creatures. Big Bird had virtually no understanding of what an office building was, let alone how to navigate one. He did not see, I guess, by the elevator, that little map with bleep, 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 this person in this room, blah, blah, blah. He began humming a tune without even thinking about it. He had sung that tune night after night from a cage to a less than enthusiastic crowd. He had often wondered how the traveling show stayed open when it drew such a pathetic trickle of lost souls, with nothing better to do than watch a bird who wasn't even a bluebird sing about being a bluebird. This cage, born of his own grief, secured with regret, while not tangible, was more real than the enclosure of his memories. He was jolted back into the moment by a swarm of officers, garbed in shiny black tactical equipment, ordering him to the floor. Alright, I know the edited version ends here, so let's see what the me of 5 years ago wrote. He surrendered without incident, kind of surprisingly. There was some confusion when it came time to put the cuffs on. The academy offered no training on how to cuff a giant bird. Inside the 1121 squad car, Big Bird hung his beak. He wanted to cry out, but had forgotten how. Realizing this handicap, he felt a level of self-loathing which broke the numbness to which he was so accustomed. At the same time, he could not help but think about how gloriously liberating he would have felt if his bird brain scheme had gone according to plan. But the thought was